Don't touch it. You did it good right there. You can't do that. Have it be something that you never intend to sell, that you can paint over and over again so that it doesn't have that preciousness to it. I'm going to break down how I blended this piece in detail. If you have tried to blend and have been frustrated like me, I hope this will help. I'm also going to share my process for finding inspiration.
Letting you know you're not alone. Letting you know you're not alone.
This picture right here, can you see this? I really liked this look, and I had this little nightstand that was very humble and plain, and I thought I could create something like this. I saw this. My hope was to create like a blend of this with these colors and more of a modern type of situation. I decided to get a nightstand because I knew that it was going to be an involved process, and I thought maybe I will get this done easier if it's a little piece of furniture. I binged watched several videos on blending because I've been struggling for years. I finally feel like I have a grasp on it, and I am going to break it down if you struggle too. My first tip is to put on a base coat and let that dry overnight if you can. That will help you have more control when you start spraying the water. Paints are very different based on their formula. DIY paint is water activated and highly pigmented, which makes it one of the easiest paints to blend. I chose 3 colors that were close together, starting with the darkest color and moving in with the lightest color. You will need a brush for each color and a neutral brush. This process is a matter of pulling the paint into the other color by moving your brush in a different direction. This is most easily achieved if both colors are wet. If the paint starts to dry, you can continue blending by spraying it with water or adding more paint. I started Googling on YouTube how to blend for beginners, like basic. This lady right here, her YouTube channel is called Bella Renovar. Look how cute she is. She's got pink hair. She does a really good job of breaking down the blending. I'm gonna put all the links to the people that I'm talking about in the description box below. She says that you should start, like put the darker colors on the outside and put the lighter colors on the inside. Place the colors that you want to blend together side by side using a separate brush for each color and spritz with water. Then you want to take your paintbrush and move it in all different directions, going up and down, side by side, even in circles. This was a big tip that really helped me. In the past, I was trying to keep my brush in the direction of the wood grain, and although I would get blended colors, they would look like stripes. I was always taught to paint in the direction of the grain, so this seemed really counterintuitive to me. But I am telling you, swirling that brush around and moving your brush in a direction that doesn't seem to make sense is the key to blending. The thing you want to remember, though, is after you get that paint blended, then straighten out your paint. Go back in the direction of the wood grain so you don't have crazy marks all over the place. I also found it helpful to pull the lighter colors into the darker colors. You can definitely go in both directions, but when you're getting to the point where you want more control, sometimes the lighter colors can be swallowed up by the darker colors. I am using Mint Chip, Farm Fresh, and Mermaid Tail, going from light to dark. After I get a section mostly blended, I start to wipe off my brush on a piece of cardboard or a paper towel. This process is kind of hard to describe. It's like your wet blending turns into dry brushing in the end when you're finessing the final details. It's much easier to work in sections, drawer by drawer or side by side. And when you first start on a section, you'll want to spray that water right onto the furniture. But as you get further into the process, sometimes you don't need very much water. Sometimes all you need is to spritz your brush with water or stick your brush on a wet sponge. If you've been frustrated with blending in the past, please don't give up. I told myself that I just didn't have some magical quality that other painters seemed to have, and that wasn't the truth. I just needed to set aside some time and practice, watch a few videos, and apply the principles that other people were teaching.
I want to just focus on trying to figure out how to blend. I did a whole side of this nightstand without the camera on, and I did it. Okay, I moved the camera around to the other side of the nightstand, and I turned it on, and all of a sudden I couldn't do it anymore. Just my hands knowing that the camera was on while I was painting just freaked me out a little bit.
Fear or anxiety. That was my biggest obstacle to learning a new skill, in this case blending. In the past, when I would create a little section on a piece of furniture that was well blended, I would try and rope it off and not go back and ruin it because I didn't know how I got that blending and I didn't think that I could recreate it again. I had to get to the place where I was okay with painting over areas that I really liked and trust that I would be able to go back and do it again. When you're blending, you're sweeping the paint across the surface. And in order for all the colors to work in harmony, sometimes you have to paint over the good parts.
After I got everything blended and it was looking just how I wanted it to look, the next thing that I needed to do was cover that whole thing with Big Top. Normally I would use wax, but I needed to use the Big Top because I was going to put a transfer over the top. And I also wanted to put on some dark wax. If you have Big Top, it's a slicker surface and you can get that dark wax in there and wipe it back really easy. I waited for everything to dry and then I put on the Big Top over the whole situation.
The Turquoise Iris Journal is filled with inspiration, and even better, there's lots of step-by-step tutorials and video links. It's wonderful if you love color and if you want to get to know other artists who are painting furniture and art.
Always static when I try to speak. Not an addict, I just need some sleep.
Dare to be vintage. Look at how cute they are. This is their decoupage paper. It's colorful, it's happy, it's wild.
As colorful as my art is, I feel like I've been holding back. I know that not everybody loves color. When you see other artists using color without excuses, it almost gives you permission to do what makes you happy.
So I started looking at the top, trying to figure out which transfers had these colors in them the most. I definitely wanted the yellow, I wanted that butterfly, I wanted the pink flowers against the aqua color, and so I got out the Ode to Henry.
These transfers come with a set design right out of the package, and you can rub the entire sheet onto a piece of furniture and they look beautiful. But I cut up tiny pieces so I could layer them and create a new design that would fit the layout of my nightstand and my design for this piece of furniture. Remember to seal over your paint first before applying the transfer, or you will have trouble getting the transfer to stick to the surface.
I get out the transfers and I start rubbing them on. These are so pretty, but I got greedy with it. I should have not put so many flowers on there. I really liked the way that you had all the negative space, where if there were flowers all over the top, it wouldn't be the same.
I looked at my inspiration photo and I was worried that I was not leaving enough negative space. But I also knew that I was going to apply the molds and it was really hard to judge how many flowers to put on.
Find a little spot in the shade, pink lemonade, pink lemonade.
Debi, you put too many flowers on there. You didn't leave enough negative space. No, it's gonna be fine. You just won't know until you put the molds on. So I get out the olive press, I get my paper clay, and I start making all the molds. And I knew that I wanted to create a frame so that it would look like that piece of china or that inspiration dresser that I had.
Most of the time you will see people using either resin or paper clay for these molds. I like to use paper clay, with very few exceptions. This is because I can make the molds a lot faster. The clay is not toxic, so I don't have to wear a mask or gloves, and I can manipulate the molds and curve them around various surfaces. Lightly dust your molds with cornstarch. Press in the clay and then peel out the molds immediately. After you do this, you will want to put glue on the back of your molds before they dry and adhere them to your surface so that you get nice flush adhesion. If you let the molds dry flat and then try and glue them onto a surface, they kind of get weeble wobbly and crooked. When I see something that inspires me, I try not to question it. I try to stop and take a picture of it, so later, when I have time to create, I can refer back to it.
Now that it's over, I think I get it. That you were my drug, I was addicted. You'd raise a red.
I like to use Aleene's Tacky Glue because it's very strong and it dries clear and it gives you enough time to move things around and change your mind.
I knew better, but I couldn't quit it. No, I couldn't quit it. You were secretive, ambiguous, and I'd hear it from your friends that you were.
I lay the piece of furniture flat so that the molds can dry. I come back the next day. It's not quite looking like my top. Gonna be fine. You just need to tweak it. It will make all the difference. Furniture goes through an ugly stage. As you're working with it, you have the vision of what you want to achieve, but then you have to trust the process. I noticed that I really also like the black outline of the top, and that's what gave it that drama. I decided to paint the molds black. I was hoping that it would start to look like what I wanted it to look like.
Painting the molds after I had glued them onto the dresser was painstaking and long. So when I got to the third drawer, I decided not to glue them onto the dresser, just to lie them in place and tape them down so that they would dry flat. So then, after they dried, I could take them off and paint them and then glue them back on.
Just almost all the clips are like crooked and sideways, and some of them are really out of frame.
Okay. In my defense, I was filming yesterday while I was running the store.
If you've noticed that the clips are a little crooked or out of focus, I have been making videos in the middle of the shop, in between customers on the sales floor. That's because we are very short-staffed. So if you know anyone who lives in San Diego and wants part-time work, let me know in the comments.
It's still not it. It's still something's wrong with it. I don't know. I never felt like it was ugly. It was looking pretty, but in a grandma sort of way. Started thinking that it needed some gold. And this is Katja. She uses lots of gold. In last week's video, I used gold, and now I cannot keep my fingers out of the gold wax. I find myself walking around with a little pot of gold and touching things in my own house. See how the gold that she uses just makes everything better? Can you imagine her furniture without the gold? It just wouldn't be the same.
Our gilding wax is really soft, really pigmented, and really good. It's non-toxic, so you can apply it with your finger right over the molds. You don't need to wear gloves, and a little bit goes a long, long way. That little jar is probably enough to do 15, 20 different pieces of furniture. I seriously love this stuff.
I like to take a picture of it with my phone, and that gives me this different perspective about that little whispering voice in the back of my head. I wish I had not put so many flowers on it. It's really pretty, but I wonder what it would look like if I would have put 50% of the floral transfer on there than I did. This is where the torture comes in. I had spent several days making this piece, and I could just put it on YouTube and say, I'm happy with it. You'll never know if you don't try. What if... Bobby.
What?
What are you doing?
I'm trying to get the right size drill bit.
This is the hardware that came on it. It is hideous, in my opinion. There's got to be some hack, some way to make this stuff look better. But I did not want to put this back on my piece. There was 6 of them. Here's the 3 that I have left. I paid $14.99 for 6 knobs, so we had to wood putty. We had to wood putty up the holes, and I didn't have any wood putty, so I used some of my clay. And then Bobby came and he drilled a hole in the middle for me so that I could put the new knobs on.
You can either go like that, sticking out, or you can have it go flush, drill a little bigger hole. I just cut a small pilot hole just so I can see where it is.
Okay.
And without trying not to doing too much damage, even though it doesn't show, I want to damage it. Flush looks better.
Nice.
Yeah, sure. I don't have my saw, so I can't cut it. In the meantime, screw it in. Otherwise, it sticks out and your undergarments will get caught here. Your unmentionables.
Maybe I could paint over the transfer. Just be done with it. Don't do that. I could do it on the top drawer. I could just try it on the top drawer and see if it makes a difference or not. But I could also ruin it. If you start painting over a transfer, I don't know what that's gonna do to it. Just try it. Just try it. You're always gonna wonder. You're always gonna wanna know.
I took a tiny paintbrush and I started blocking out some of the flowers and some of the leaves. This took 2 coats and I had to go back and touch up the molds because I got paint on them. But I was able to get some of the negative space back and get closer to the look that I was trying to achieve.
And I took another picture of it. Yeah, it's looking better. But how do I do all the blending again? Basically, I had to get out these tiny paintbrushes and do the same process where you have a brush for one color, a brush for another color, and then a neutral brush to blend the 2 colors together. And on a very tiny scale, I blended the 3 colors, starting from the darkest, going to the lightest. Then I had to take another tiny brush and go in there with wax to seal all the paint in, and then touch up the gold again. I had to do it. I could not just let it be.
Taking action on an idea, even if it doesn't turn out like you hoped it would, is never wasted time. Allow yourself to learn from others, even if the process is hard and long. Repeat the process. Keep doing it. Don't fall into the trap of believing that you're not capable. You're capable. You're capable of so much more than you think you are.
Transitions were very, very soft and seamless. Dang it, I did it. I finally blended. I even sent a picture to Dion and showed her, and she said it was perfect. I don't know, there was something missing. One of the things that I noticed that furniture artists do a lot, they use dark wax. And I have always been kind of afraid of dark wax. I want to bring out that color, and I feel like if I put the dark wax on it, it's going to make it all look muddy and dirty. You work so hard to finally blend something and you finally get it right, and what if it's ruined?
DIY wax is all natural. There's no harsh chemicals or smells, and you don't need to wear gloves. It's also really soft. I'm putting the dark wax in the areas where the shadows would be, and I'm wiping back the excess. I put Big Top on first, which is allowing that dark wax to go on and wipe back a lot easier.
there's any advice that I have for you is to not make your work too precious. I would suggest if you want to learn how to blend, get a piece of furniture that you don't care about, maybe a little nightstand, and just use it as your practice canvas, and you can just be free with it. You got to be brave with the dark wax, because when you're using bright colors, if you don't add something in there that's kind of grounded or neutral, it can look like something that belongs in a kid's room.
Just remember to lay down clear wax or big top first so you have more control over the dark wax.
This is our Bohemian Brights. They're in a clear gel. I just dipped it. See, it's like a gelatinous kind of brightness to it, and I just rubbed it in. It just popped out the color here and there in all the places that I wanted that color to pop. It has a built-in sealer, so you don't have to put wax over it or big top over it, and it's very, very easy to blend. If you get it on there and you don't like it, you just feather it out.
Letting you know you're not alone. Letting you know you're not alone. I wanna try to understand. I wanna help if I can.
I am happy with the way the nightstand looks, and a lot of times I will hear in the comments, Debbie, you're too hard on yourself. If I just think that everything is great, then I won't be able to achieve closer to what I set out to do the next time. If I could do it over again, I would have used way less transfers. Let me know, what is your creative process like? Is it torture or is it fun?
Spread a little happiness, spread a little bit of happiness. It ain't hard to see all that's going wrong.
To find DIY paint in your area or to sell it in your store, or to find all the other products and the people mentioned in this video, click the link below. Thanks for watching.
Never help no one. When you get knocked down, you know that you gotta get back up. Gotta get back.